Welcome to the Cannabis Connection. I am your host, Christopher Carr. Duke Diamond joins us for a special 420 edition. Duke Diamond is a breeder, grower, and overall MacGyver of all things cannabis. He's the founder of Dominion Seed Company, VA Don't Play. He's been on the podcast and is an organic steward of this plant, taking care of a lot of the legacy and building block genetics that have built cup winners, and a big fan of Duke. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, buddy. How you doing today?
We're doing well. Happy 420. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holiday to you too, man.
This
Happy
is
holiday
a,
to you too.
a pretty special show. I'm really happy to connect with
Oh,
you, and I thought it was very appropriate to have you on this special day. I'm just honored. It all lined up. The stars aligned.
oh man, I appreciate it, man. It's my pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me on. I was tripping out on the cat litter commercial that they were playing when I was on hold. I was like, man, that dude just crushed it.
Yeah, this is our local gem here, Santa Cruz's own KSCO, and we're honored to broadcast here because we're every week, bringing some really great education about the plant and about the people that take care of the plant and are passionate about the plant, and usually where we start off too is how did this special pursuit, this life work come into your life? What was the catalyst of building a life taking care of cannabis?
It was kind of a, I guess it's kind of a typical, I guess, beginning for anybody. You finally find something that makes you feel right, and you know, especially, back in the 90s and stuff, there was still so much taboo with everything, it was like, oh, you're on drugs, kid, and that's not good, you gotta get off the pot, and it was like, how are you gonna tell me what makes me feel right, what helps me go through the day when like a person in fact has never tried it, or never done anything with it. But, like the same people, like they'll sit there and float their liver, with Jack Daniels or whatnot. And that's, and from a very early age, I kind of like, kind of saw it's like people kind of want to tell other people how to live and what to do, especially, I'm originally from Virginia,
Yeah.
and you get those types of people, and it could be, from the more like the Bible thumping side, to the just, I don't know, undesirable type people telling you what to do. So right off the bat, I knew, it made me feel better, less anxious and, more sociable and more, more in tune, I guess would be a good way to put it. I felt, because, I grew up on a farm. Agriculture is just, is like what we did. So it was very, it was an organic thing, so nothing felt odd about it or weird. So, that led into me, trying to grow. Now, like, I'm real young, we're talking, coming up, getting close to my 13th birthday. So
Wow.
yeah, I sprouted a seed, man. I'm trying to grow it. And my older cousins, my parents had me real late in life, so my cousins were all, late 20s and in their 30s. And they saw what I was doing. They were like, "Hey, man, you can't go and do
This is in
that,
Virginia,
dude."
right? Too?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
just like,
They're
not a
looking out
care
for
in the
you.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. So they're like, "Look, man, you're right young," but they were like on the same token, they're like, we were about the same age too. It must like run on the family or something. So we're gonna look out for you. I'm gonna show you the right way to go about this. So I just kind of started working along with them, and by about age 16, I was kind of just doing it, doing my own thing, growing outside and all, and it kind of morphed into there, and I went up till, let's see, it was like February 2007 when the DEA got me finally. And, a lot of people come up and say, well, you know, this is what needed to happen. This is what needed to be your wake up call to teach you a lesson.
Mm.
So, I think like, I'm like, hey, that's really screwed up, man. But
Yeah.
you know what? You're absolutely right. It is going to teach me a lesson. It's going to teach me, hey, one, I need to get away from here.
Yeah.
My second lesson being, hey, maybe I shouldn't, talk to people who, get into lots of trouble,
Yeah.
and then turn ratting out their best friends, So,
Yeah.
and then three, like, yeah, it taught me a lesson. Yeah, if I'm gonna be around here, I definitely need to be a lot more careful. But if anything, it just gave me more drive to do what I needed to do, like to educate people, because it was a medicinal thing for me. People I was helping out back then, it was the same type deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it just told me, yeah, I need, you got like the evil empire trying to crush out something that you know in your heart is the right thing and a good thing. I'm gonna have to fight.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
buck against that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
big time. And that, yeah, no, I mean, we still, even with how far we've come in the modern era, with even recreational laws on the books, I was giving
Yeah.
away CBD infused olive oil and capsules to a cancer patient yesterday for groceries, just
Yeah.
to, find a way to keep that compassion best practice and kind of legacy alive, because in the it becomes a capitalist endeavor, but we're coming from a more community driven, compassionate.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's the big message, that the download that the plant, we care
Yeah.
for it, but it comes back tenfold with all of this phytotherapies and all of these great compounds that
Yeah.
kind of bring us to a much healthier place in our minds and our bodies, and kind of
Absolutely.
as friends, in our relationships, brings people
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, man, it really does. And like, when like, it's not a whole lot of people have like, seen like where I do my thing at, but they look through all these mother plants that I keep, and some of them go back before I was even born, stuff that's like passed down to me. And they're like, "What about that one?" And I can go on 10, 15 minutes telling them where it came from, its little journey to me, how long, I've had it and what we've done together. And they're like, "Wow, you talk about it like, like they're people." And I was like, "Well, they kind of are." I'm like,
Yeah.
one, back in the day, you didn't have a lot of friends because you couldn't, because you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then, these things have, or not even things, but these plants have helped me like a friend or a family. They've kept me from being sick. They've helped me to recover from being sick, and helping my friends and family and people that I take care of. They've been with me every step of the way. I've took care of them. They've took care of me. Very reciprocal. And
Yeah.
I don't really have any really much family left alive anyway. And same with my friends. So it's like, yeah, these are kind of like my last, remaining things, that are
Wow.
part of my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We had a
Yeah.
caller. We had a caller call in, and they said the first four letters, a canine, man's best friend, and first four letters of cannabis. It's the same. This plant,
Yeah,
and
man.
in the plant kingdom is that's our ally. It's our best friend.
It really is, man. And they develop a communication system with us, and we
There you
can,
go.
develop one with them. I've always said it was more like, of course they can't really speak verbally,
Yeah.
but they can speak in sign language,
Yeah,
and
they
they can
can.
speak in feeling. Yeah, man.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
In chemistry
Yeah,
as well, the way it makes us
that's right.
feel, and the thought processes,
Exactly.
and yeah, it's an
Yeah,
inspirational
yeah.
plant.
Sends a message to you.
That's
Yeah. Oh,
right.
yeah, man. Yeah, that's
you,
right.
you said your family's got this agricultural background, and I definitely commend you on being, we're all holding the flag of regenerative or beyond organic, and in
Yeah.
your work too. Maybe you can speak to that and why that's important. And you put it out there. I was kind of using your Instagram as the intro here, because that's where a lot of people are visible. That's where they're, putting themselves out there. That's the message in a lot of ways. And, I really
Yeah, man.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's like, we can go into like the technicals on like organic cultivation and all that stuff. And it's a broad topic, but it's really kind of simple because, when you're going organically, you're kind of going with the evolutionary thing. Like, these plants, like, without us, have, they've developed their own communication system with microorganisms, microbes that live in the soil. Um, these plants can actually speak to these microbes by kind of like kind of like putting off a pheromone combination in their root zone, which actually speaks to specific microbes that break down certain, um, you know, like if it was a calcium and nitrogen thing, it's gonna
Yeah.
be releasing a certain pattern to speak more to these bacterial microbes that are gonna break down nitrogen and calcium. And they can say, "Hey, I'm kind of feeling sick, help," and there might be a pathogen in the soil, and it might, be speaking more to like a trichoderma type microbe that helps, kill off this nasty pathogen or, whatever it wants to eat. So, they've developed this very complex little system here, and
Yeah.
all we really need to do, all we got to do is just kind of facilitate it. And by doing that, keeping our inputs, like if you're watering with something, keep it all natural, all organic, and just kind of go off the, like I said, there's sign language, and it's a really easy way to do it. It's the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah.
But like we can take all that aside. It was like when I used to, like a long time ago, I learned how to. I was a photovoltaic guy, solar panels and stuff in the early days, and it was really hard to talk to people, especially in the South. They're like, "Well, you just trying to save the whales or something, you hippie," you know. And I'm
Sure.
like, "Look, man, you can take the save the whales, the green life, you can take all that away. This is saving you money.
That's
This
it.
is going to go right into your pocket. No matter how you're going to go about it, at the end of the day, it's going to be good for you." So with organics, um, the less work, less money, but at the end of the day, it's a clean product, okay, and
Yeah.
it's a superior product. And guys can go on and on. They're going to be like pumping their newts on their tables and say, "Oh no, I can do this." Look, man, I grew hydroponics back in the day quite a bit, like when my younger, like cash crop and pumping weight. But I can tell you, you're not going to get a more superior end product than you can with organics, and that's a fact. And I'll do the Pepsi challenge to any person out there on that. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, and not many people are going to argue that.
No.
You can come with a good product, but I found with hydroponics it's a lot more time and a lot more work to try to meet that quality level at the end of the day by going that route.
Yeah.
Whereas with organic, it's natural, man. It flows. It's what the plant likes. It's what it wants, and like the smell, the flavor, um, overall formation, everything's more just right. And then you get some guys out there that are kind of new to it. They kind of don't understand some of the fine details, so they'll come out with some stuff that'll look like hay or be
Yeah.
kind of nasty. So there's a little tech to it as well. But once you get it, you got it, and it rolls pretty good. And drying and curing and the way you harvest, because like you can grow something perfect, whether you're a hydro guy or a soil person. Um, you can grow it perfect and have the best thing on earth and completely screw it up, right afterwards.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
there's that
huge.
too.
Yeah, maybe you could shed more light on that too, because I have so many family farms. We have a band here. We play roots rock reggae, and I have a lot. When we tour the West Coast, you visit farms. It's usually a lot of the farmers that actually take us in while we're on the road, and you see things growing and they're going beautiful, but then sometimes they show you the what's in the bag and what they're taking to market, and yeah, they're using fans when they dry, so it's
Yeah.
uneven. They're not really curing at all. They're just throwing it into a turkey bag and trying to just move it. and
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah,
there's a
man.
bit of an art of that piece, because like you said, you can do everything right, and then the last couple steps kind
Yeah.
of undermine your whole few months invested.
Exactly, man. And so another thing like I used to do, I was a industrial guy, like I was an electrician and did that.
Wow.
And then I was a instrumentation and electrical they called us like field engineers, we got into the automation and certain high voltage wiring, yada yada yada. So
Cool.
my travels with that take me through steel mills and power plants and chemical plants and all this like really high tech stuff. But in my hometown, that's where Philip Morris is.
Oh wow.
Um, and we're talking very large scale tobacco. but take that part away, it's just not good for you, right? But um, at the end of the day, it's a product that's going to be made that needs to be it's going to be lit on fire and smoked, you know, and burnability, smoothness, and all like a lot of the same factors that dictate like a cannabis crop are kind of the same things they're trying to achieve. Like burn it smooth, white ash. Um, so they have a curing process of their own. So a lot of the argument that I would hear, if I was consulting for somebody, it was like, well, our scale is just so big, we don't have time for that, or we just can't do it. And I was telling BS.
Yeah.
BS. You are not larger than this Park 500 plant in out in Hopewell, Virginia. You are not moving this anywhere near the scale of what they're doing, but yet they're doing it.
Wow.
Okay. So the thing is like there's this part of work smarter, not harder,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the what we call the 6 P's. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Wow, I love
So
that.
if you got a huge grow that you're planning on doing, everybody takes into account. All right, we need this many pots, this much space in between them, this many square feet. We're gonna need this much trellis or this many stakes. We're gonna need this much, this and that. They never account. Okay, when it's done, where are you gonna put it?
Yeah.
Do you have the
Huge.
proper amount of space? Okay, so in this area that we're gonna put this, is there ventilation? Is there any type of temperature control? Is there
Mm-hmm.
humidity control?
Mm-hmm.
Any air circulation? And then, it's like, yeah, you need to plan this all the way through. Don't go 90% through. Take it 100% through. So people that went along with that, they were like, okay, well, what do we do? All right, well, whether you got one little plant that you're growing, or whether you're tens of thousands of square feet that you're bringing down, you plan the area to size. um, I normally went somewhere between like 15 and 20% of floor space that you're using should be, about, you can do it tighter, you can take more advantage of cubic space instead of square feet and all that, but you can make the space to accommodate this, crop without having it all bunched up together. So like with like Philip Morris, for instance, it's tobacco that cures for a very long time, and it's temperature controlled and humidity controlled. So if you're gonna put the stuff in there, low and slow. That's the thing. It works great with barbecue, or
Yeah.
mixed types of cooking,
Yeah.
and it works great with if you're gonna be having a cannabis crop in there as well. So lower temperature, and my humidity, and then was the other thing is like I've talked to people in Arizona, Colorado, California, Oregon. Every place is different, so you can't just say, well, it's a dry climate here or it's a wet climate here. No, you don't accept that in the grow. You change the humidity and temperature in that grow to suit that plant. Why stop now? You do that through the through the drying process as well.
Yep.
So if you need a humidifier or you need a dehumidifier or maybe even both just to throttle it and keep it just perfect, that's what you need to do. So air movement's good, but like you said, you don't want the fan just blowing on one section of it. You dry it too quick. And that quick dry, you're taking a lot away. You're making it a little harsher. You're not giving it time to really milk this stuff out. So if it was me and you were like, all right, let's get her done, buddy. We're gonna start breaking down this room. This is how we're gonna go about it. We go out to each pot, and we're gonna look at these plants, and we're gonna say, okay, well, we're gonna of course break it down into branches, and we're gonna hang these. Whether you're using string from wall to wall, or you're using chicken wire, or maybe doing the coat hanger thing,
Mm.
however you're gonna do it. So we're gonna want to start by taking off these fan leaves, or some people call them shade leaves, right?
Yeah.
Now, some people, um, they just take the whole thing off, and that's not necessarily right. I like to leave about 1 to 2 inches of the petiole stem. That's the stem that goes from the main stem that goes out to that fan leaf. So I like to leave about 1 or 2 inches of that stem on, and that kind of keeps it from, I guess, like locking up into the stem. It allows a little more transpiration to go down, and that's kind of what this is about. Is moisture coming out of the bud, but not so fast because, it needs to kind of take its time and milk its way out and kind of gas off a little bit of this chlorophyll and, other things that are still kind of lingering around. So I found by leaving that, it's almost like having a wick, like where it's helping to wick it out little by little. So we're going to start with that. And then, we're going to start hanging it into our, area that we've got sized right. As far as like fans and air movements, I like to keep it, above where we're drying at, or like right below, or both, and not right on our crop here, So that way it keeps the air moving and everything around it, but not directly on it.
Yeah.
If there's a way for us to set up the room to essentially like burp it like you would a jar,
Oh, yeah.
something to exhaust all the air out of the room, do that, a couple times a day too. Get some fresh air in there. That helps as well. And then we go into our temperature. So, a lot of terpenes and stuff, it's pretty high temperature before they're burning off. But the one phenomenon I could never figure out is like, well, when I would be in like the wintertime, like way back in the day, and this old trailer, and like it's freezing cold. I'd hang stuff in there and it'd take forever to dry, but my God, it was stinky, dude.
I
So
bet.
stinky.
You preserved all
And
those
then as
terpenes in the cool.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the summertime, it wasn't, crazy hot, and by like, science and data, says, well, these terpenes will burn off till here.
Mm.
But I would dry in there, and I might even be able to make it last the same amount of time, but it was nowhere near as stinky.
Mm. Yeah.
So my whole thing is like keep it nice and cool, man. I like around like 60, 65 degrees is a pretty primo temperature. And the way I start my drying is I don't know, I like to kind of start it that first day. I actually drop it down to 40% just to start the pull. It's almost like I try to picture it like siphoning some gas out of a tank or something. You got to start that pressure up to really get the flow going. And then once you got the flow going, then, I throttle it back up. So I take it back up to about 45%. Now I'll let it ride like that for a day or two. And then I actually let it jump back up to 50%, and I'll let that ride for a day. And I feel like that almost starts to let it back up again, and then I drop it back to 45 again. I'll let it go for a couple more days, and I kind of throttle back and forth a little bit to slow it down, and keep it a little more steady, So if I can kind of back up, I almost feel like I'm letting it back up, and then when I drop it, I'm letting the floodgate open again and pull a little more out. So ideally, I'm looking for about 14 days. If I can get it to go 21 days, even better.
Low and
Taking
slow.
that extra, yeah, man, it really is. And most guys are like, oh yeah, I dry in like 4 days or 7 days. I'm like, whoa.
Red flag. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I feel like even 14 to 21, I'm kind of speeding through it.
Moving along.
Yeah, man.
Well, Duke, let's take I love where this is going. I got all kinds of cool things to follow up with, but we're right at the bottom of the hour, so we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Did you know that you can experience medical benefits of cannabis without feeling altered? Jade Nectar, specializing in non-intoxicating cannabis formulas that maximize medical benefits while minimizing or completely avoiding the psychoactive effects of THC. Our patients are able to experience effective relief while being free to go about their daily activities without the distraction of unwanted psychoactive effects. To find out more, visit jadenectar.com or visit Kind People's Collective. Santa Cruz College of Botanical Studies provides empirical education for sustained health through plants. Continuing the local legacy of environmental stewardship, our goal is to fill the void in academic study around cannabis, essential oils, and other homeopathic practices. Join us Sunday, May 6th at the Hilton, 6001 La Madrona Drive, noon to 5 for Cannabis Synergy Seminar exploring cannabinoids, terpenes, and the entourage effect. Visit www.sccobs.org to register. True Origins, a collection of artisan cannabis oils from Santa Cruz, California. Lab-verified, pesticide-free, available to manufacturers of THC and CBD enhanced edibles or other products. With True Origins, your brand is backed with premium source material combined with leading-edge cold-pressed ethanol extraction. True Origins delivers a clean and trusted supply line for your business. For more information, visit trueorigins.green.
Rooted in community, Treehouse serves up connoisseur cannabis culture daily for medical and adult use customers. Treehouse specializes in edibles and concentrates. We offer a wide selection of flower and feature the best new products. Come visit our space at 3651 Soquel Drive in Soquel. Order online at ourtreehouse.io. That's ourtreehouse.io. Join our community to stay in the loop at ourtreehouse.io.
The greatest minds in medical cannabis research are coming to UCLA for CanMed 2018. Don't miss this chance to learn from the latest advancements in medical cannabis science from the top names in the industry, including Dr. Raphael Meshulam, Bonnie Goldstein, Ethan Russo, Stacy Gruber, David Mary, and more. Early bird pricing is available until June 1st. Buy your tickets at cannmedevents.com, CANNMED events.com today. There is a special 20% discount on the CanMed 2018 tickets. The discount promo code is CanMed420, CANNMED 420. Thank you to CanMed for supporting the Cannabis Connection, and we're very excited to participate at UCLA later in the summer. Also, Santa Cruz College of Botanical Studies. We are doing our May 6th event that will be at the Hilton Santa Cruz, 6001 La Madrona Drive. Check us out. It is www.sccobs.org. Again, the Santa Cruz College of Botanical Studies. Welcome back to the 420 special edition of the Cannabis Connection with Duke Diamond. We are talking about best practices in cultivating and breeding and stewarding cannabis. Welcome back, Duke.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Hey.
What are you celebrating with? I want to hear a little bit about some new strains that you guys that you're working on. I know you got all kinds of. You're a man of prolific tastes and working with some of the best genetics. You're always producing something exciting, and I want to hear from the breeder himself.
Yeah, man. Well, today, I'm doing a little screaming eagle, man, because
Yoo-hoo.
I'm not man, like I kind of I feel uneasy in crowds sometimes, and
Mhm.
like today is like one of them days, a lot of people in town and everything, and
Yeah.
I got a few places I gotta hit up today, and it's gonna be a lot of people and a lot of interactions. So but on the same note, like I still got to keep it moving. I got stuff to do, tasks to accomplish, and I can't really just totally bomb myself out. So Screaming Eagle I bred, it was made for like PTSD and anxiety, um qualities. So like with me, like it might make me feel a little uneasy, like just to go to a grocery store, like something that most people just pull up, man, they hop out of their car, they run in, they run out, they do their thing, no big deal. With me, like I gotta kind of amp myself up for about 5 minutes in the car, go in, and like I'm white knuckled like the whole time, and it
Mm.
was such a crappy thing. So it would make me like have to find like the all night type grocery stores where not a lot of people are around. I might stay up real late to go just do a little grocery shopping trip. So I had things that always kind of helped with that, but I would either be too bogged down or it just wasn't quite enough. So I got to kind of guinea pigging on myself and like a few friends, and started the breeding project, and it took a few years to get it, just to where I like it, but now it's right, and the first big batch of them, I just gave them out for free to vets or anybody who was, suffering from PTS or bad anxiety, and people love it, and I do too. So that's going to be the smoke for today, and then this evening I'll probably move into a little Kim Dog skunk action and stuff like that, and zonk myself out, watch some cartoons or something. Yeah.
And you kind of you know some of these keepers of the old school, like the Chem Dog, like Mass G, and I was
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
old buddy of mine.
that's
Yeah.
and that's so righteous, because that's kind of especially with things changing, like you're in Colorado, and things are getting really big really fast. And
Yeah, they are.
yeah, and that part of the show, because at Santa Cruz too, we have such a legacy of the medical movement, being with Wham and Valerie and Dennis Perone and the
Yeah.
Bay Area. And I try to chronicle some of these stories, and I really try to manifest these kind of speakers that have the life experience and have carried this plant in their life story from the early 90s, even before that in the 80s. And friends that you have, they were working those old school chems, old school skunks. I even listened back on your interview on podcast, and talking about the original sour diesel. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you can shed light on some of these, like sour diesel, chem dog, skunk, OG. Some people don't even know what Triangle Kush is, or the stories behind some of these, like, legendary building block genetics.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. I mean, like I guess to like really start, you really have to excuse me, you have to really give credit to like who I would consider like my pioneers, like people that really started early on, and it wasn't so simple for them. There was no seed bank. They couldn't say, well, I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna get that and cross this to this and easy breezy. They had to say, no, I'm gonna go to the Himalayas, man. And I'm gonna talk to some tribal people around there, or I'm gonna go to Afghanistan, and I'm gonna go around and find like the gnarliest hash makers there, and I'm gonna see if I can get some seed stock, and pray to, whatever, that I'm not killed for showing up in the wrong place. So they took so many risks just going, and then to say, okay, not only am I going to do that, and provided I make it there and don't get killed or die hiking or something, I'm going to take these seeds and I'm going to bring them back to a place that wants to hang me high and dry and lock me under a cage for doing so. And then I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to grow all these out in this place. Hope that I don't get caught, locked up for the rest of my life. And then they're going to say, okay, now from here, I'm going to grow a bunch of these out and I'm going to start selectively picking these. And I'm not happy with just the way this is and just the way this is. I want to blend the two together. I want to bring my flowering time down, make them a little faster, make them a little stronger in the branches, a little more resin production, or maybe I feel that the combination of these two might make it stink like a certain aroma I'm looking for. So they took all this risk and all this time to make these things, and then you start to come into the era of seed banks and stuff. So you got like the old dudes like Mendo Joe, guys that were with the Sacred Seed Company, the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. All this is like a California based type movement.
Yeah.
So for their side of it, my eternal gratitude, hats off, because they did such awesome work with the penalty and the price. It's real high. It's a big sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then you go from that, and you have Neville. He was from Australia. He traveled around. He did his thing as well, and his work was primarily out of the Netherlands and all. And he made a lot of advancements too. And then you start getting into the seed thing, and after Sacred and Brotherhood of Eternal Love, you start getting into the Super Sativa Seed Club. You Sensi seeds start to pop up, And then, it was kind of off from there, but it allowed guys like my older cousins to say, hey, we got this little catalog, and we're looking at this stuff, and wow, this is really awesome. There's this stuff called skunk, there's this Northern Lights, there's Northern Lights hazes, and so many different things that you could just say, okay, I'm going to send you money, and you're going to send me seeds, safe and sound. You saved us a trip around the world. You saved us years of work. Here it is. So, you get to growing it out, and you see how strong this stuff is. These guys did a phenomenal job, like, considering, what was available back then. You very rarely see it today. And hell, man, it's a legal market. You can have these huge areas, but yet nobody puts in the work like those guys did. And, it kind of shows in the outcome, what you end up with. So, from the point where I start off, I'm working with things that come out of that era. And that's not to say that there's not a whole lot of good things now, but it's lacking. I mean, so much is pushed out there, and really, I could say 10% of it is like, hey, that's pretty darn good. And the rest of it's kind of bland, it's hype stuff with a name, or might have a smell for us, but doesn't really do much, so, it's kind of muddled up. So we go back to my era. We're working with stuff that guys, put a lot of work in the late 70s and early 80s into. My cousins it gets passed on to me. And then, you start looking at the late 80s and early 90s. And to me, that was like the golden era right there, if you will. So a lot of your, coin only type amazing stuff is from right around this era. So you take the Chem Dog story, that picks up in 1991. Starts off, well, technically it starts off in Colorado, but it ends up taking place in Deer Creek, Indiana.
Wow.
Grateful Dead.
Yeah, Grateful Dead. That's it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
And,
it.
plus the Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia and everything, and all that they did,
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
everybody together the way that they did. Because
Yeah.
without that crazy ride, a lot of us would have never met and everything. So that was really
Yeah,
good.
you're right. That's like one
Yeah,
band that contributed to a whole movement of
so much.
exchange, seed exchange. Yeah,
Yeah, knowledge
you're
exchange
right.
and
And
seeds and genetics and
relationships
everything.
all
Yeah,
over the
man.
country because of their touring.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It was really awesome. Like my buddy, he goes by Skunk VA.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, he's like, that was the original mass media Facebook thing. It's like, that's where you went to
Dad
like get
tour.
with your friends, and do your likes and all that. It's like that was the original thing.
That's
And
right.
it had to be a truly meaningful relationship because cell phones weren't really a thing, and you might be the cool guy with a pager, maybe,
Maybe.
but to keep contact with something, you had to let them have your home phone number, which is tied to an address, which is a big deal if you're a grower or whatever. You had to be very trusting of the person that you're passing this information on to. So I feel like that was like a proving ground. It had to be very meaningful for you to keep up with somebody. So, or you were just wild. You was wild and crazy and just didn't care.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so you pick up here, and that genetic, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Like there were things that happened leading up to this point at that show in Indiana that happened to make this happen. There had to be some genetics prior to that, and all that is a result of that late '80s, early '90s type stuff that was available and was being grown at the time. So there's one avenue. Now the following year, 1992, we're moving on over to Florida.
Nice.
That's where your OG Kush pops up at. Now it's the same type thing. The same kind of gene pool in that family is responsible here as well. Now these things are kind of going on and following the same circles, if you will, but like kind of on a parallel line, not crossing over too much to one another until certain people meet certain people, and then all of a sudden it's like game over. Like we got the best. So you start seeing hybrids of these things, and you know all types of things come as a result. With the chem dogs, you You lead into this line, you got sour diesel.
Yeah.
Half of that, it was Skunk VA's skunk cutting that
Yeah.
he had a friend out of Richmond, like back in Virginia, and he had this really gnarly skunk, and that kind of made its way into the works, and that goes on to be a part to make what sour diesel is.
Wow.
Then you end up with headband. You end up with like a lot of really cool little hybrids from people just kind of doing their thing, making things better, and sometimes it's a accident, but it's a great accident.
Always.
And yeah, and that kind of evolves into it leads through the 90s, and then you get into the early part of the 2000s. So late part of the 90s, early 2000s, if you were a grower, you didn't have a little club that everybody can meet at, and you didn't have the government, giving you any protection. In fact, they were the opposite. They were hunting you down. So, it's really nice to be able to talk to somebody like me and you were talking right now. So, like back in the day, this never could have happened.
Sure.
Like
Oh, yeah.
Canada got a lot of credit for my weed back in the day. It was like, oh yeah, I don't know, man. Buddy goes snowboarding with some Canadians, and I got this good weed. I couldn't take credit for it, and that really sucks because you
Yeah.
want to. You want to be like, man, you know how much work I got into this. So, we had these online forums,
Oh, yeah.
and that was kind of a way for people to link up. So we had Overgrow, that was a real big one, and it led to more connections. And so you fast forward, you start to get into the middle 2000s, and you start getting a lot of medical laws are getting passed all over, and now you're starting to get a little more community, more in person. The circles are getting larger and larger. People are like, hey, I got this one, a trade for that. Things start to get spread around a little more well known. Now I go away to prison, but when I come out, things have changed quite a bit. And then that leads on into, what was it, 2010, 11. Colorado went full recreational. I was working at a cryogenic gas facility, and this crew from Colorado was talking about it. I was like,
Wow.
no way. I had to, go home and look it up and make sure they're not full of it.
Yeah.
So then I'm looking, and the seed thing, people with the clones and everything, it went wild. Things that were held so tightly in such small circles, it was well known. So you could pretty much ask anybody, hey, you ever smoke some Triangle or OG? Oh yeah, all the time. I get it at the store. I go down the street to my corner and I buy it out of a store.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa,
Game changer.
It's mind blowing, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I need to move, So things have definitely evolved, quite a bit. And just out of those two lines, they're responsible for so much of the current day things that most people have that
Oh,
that
yeah.
are considered the best of the best, and people like that a lot, but a lot of people don't know the chain of events that led up to it, and all the craziness, and traveling and hiding, and prison time and
Oh, big
sacrifice
time.
that went into
So
making
much.
that making
Whole
that
families.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
impacts
people,
everyone.
yeah, dude, you get your door kicked in, man. They shoot your dog. They about to
Oh,
shoot you.
jeez.
Sometimes you do
Yeah.
get shot, and
Sometimes. Yeah.
you get dead friends and people pulling life, and that's what kind of like it makes me happy in a way to see people. But and then in some circles, it's like this big corporate conglomerate. They don't know anything about anything, and all they care about is a dollar at the end of the day. They don't care how it's grown, how it's produced, where it came from,
Hmm.
but they're happy to make that money
Yeah.
off of that name, and that's my hang up, that bothers me,
Same
'cause like,
here.
there's like a company in Colorado, like it's like a couple of ex-DEA guys and this other rich. I'm really trying hard not to curse on
Yeah,
this
thank you
radio
so much. I
show,
can
man.
tell. I know. Yeah, we're
Like every
definitely
time I
radio
pause, I'm
audience.
like,
I know.
yeah,
I'll
man.
do the
So,
bleep.
yeah. Beep, 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 beep.
Beep, beep, beep,
But
beep.
yeah, these dudes, man, and they're like out there making money. I'm like, how can this be allowed to happen? These and some of
Agreed.
these other places,
So wrong.
they were companies that used to lobby to prevent to prevent legalization. And then some of them, now that they've gotten into the rec market, now they lobby all the time trying to kill off med in the state. Like there's people here in Colorado that are trying to kill off the medical system, and it makes me furious because I got 4 of these kids that are like severely ill, like really, really kind of rare ailments and stuff, and like without it, these kids truly suffer. And one of them, like, it's very highly likely this kid would die. And like I don't do it out of money. I've never charged them a penny. I refuse to do so. I make seeds. Seeds make money. Money pays bills. Gives them free stuff to have health care, if you will.
Of course.
And and then I got these other guys bucking against the system, making money off of our stuff, off of our names and our hard work.
Yeah.
Okay, just to take that money and try to kill us off, and that's not right. That's not right at all. And then you got like Monsanto and Bayer. They make Hawthorne Gardening Company. They're buying up. Botanicare, General Hydro.
They bought Sunlight Supply just this week.
And I knew about that a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually had gone down a little while ago, but now, I'm glad. It's public knowledge.
It's public knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, people gotta watch out for that, and the same people that put a meme up about it, but you look in the garden, it's like, oh, you're running Botanicare. So you're gonna sit there and complain about it, but yet you're sitting there supporting them, and that's not cool.
No,
so people really need to step up, and
right.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Amen. That's it. That's a huge message, and I'm so happy how we went through the whole chronology of 20 plus years to get to that statement, which is so important because the consumer has the power. And this process of us sharing knowledge, getting to know each other, and broadcasting on this old platform radio, I mean, we need to elevate the consciousness of the consumers and like you said,
Absolutely.
Put your values behind your dollars and know your farmer, know your grower, and keep it local and keep it small and keep it local and try to, it's community in cannabis. And this is really, if you're not mindful, you're just going to fuel those, the perpetuation of a corporatocracy where cannabis can be a catalyst for some positive change in our communities if we educate each other about, hey, you got to be a little mindful and source.
Yeah, man, because it's a dirty thing, and like a lot of the knowledge, like if you were deep, you were in the group. I mean, we all know these things, but the general populace doesn't.
No.
And I've never had that opportunity to really talk to the general populace, because of legal reasons.
That's right.
We couldn't have done those back then, but now we can.
Yes.
So it's good to spread that message out there and, let people know, like, you really have to be careful where you put your money because, like, you are truly supporting evil, And I've always had good conversations with folks in California because Californians are more in tune with that type of mindset than other places, People are more concerned about where their money goes. So a corporation screws up, does something bad, like the last thing, comes to mind is like the Starbucks thing.
Yeah.
People are going to not go there now because of that, and that's good,
Of course.
Now and then the thing I've been running into is like, I don't know what it is, but it's this like short-term memory problem thing. Like for a while I was like, maybe I just have an exceptional memory, and I've really gotten to thinking, I'm like, my memory's not any more exceptional than the next person's, but people, like with this mass media flood, it's almost like so overwhelming that it makes people forget, like something big can happen in the news like a month or so, you forget about it.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a problem.
They just move on. Yeah, it really is, man.
Yeah. No, that's the kind of drawback of an information age is just the amount, and our brains are meant to forget, like our survival instincts are, you just take what's really relevant to complete, procreation and survival of the species, and that's kind of our hardwiring. But in an information age when there's so much, most of it fluff, updates and little things about, celebrities or silly things, we kind of forget what's really important, and it just gets, it's just, like you said, short term. As a society, we have short term memory loss, which is really concerning.
Yeah, it really truly is, man. It really is. Like it's like it's blown my mind, and I kind of looked at it. I'm like, well, what's different than the way like I live versus like the general person? Well, I don't watch the news,
Yeah.
I don't allow that kind of flood to come in. You know, I can keep up with kind of general highlights of what's going on if something real big's happening. But overall, like, I'm not that guy that tunes into the news. You know, I'm not into pop culture.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, I listen to music. You know, I
Yeah.
watch my cartoons. You know, I
Yeah.
keep it pretty darn simple, man. And I guess, you know, I don't get hit with that flood, you know,
Yeah.
but I've kind of looked around and been around friends, you know, when they're watching it, I'm like,
It
wow,
impacts
man,
people.
this is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's depressing. You know, that news
It
is rough, man.
It is rough, and the corporations behind the news. That's the other thing here is, you know, what can you believe now? You know, there's so much coming
Exactly.
in that what is
Yeah,
the
man.
truth? You know, how do we get down to the
Yeah.
truth? And yeah,
Yeah, it's really rough, man. And then it's like the other thing on that is like the way news is broadcast now. It's been a long time since I watched it, but when I had watched it, it was just, you know, Dan Rather or whatever, you know,
that's
he's
right.
telling you about whatever. You might see some on-site footage. That's that. Now they're putting background scores, like like that very subtle, almost subconscious tone in the background of a story that triggers an emotion. You know, this is like, you know, psychological stuff 101.
Yeah.
To enhance mood, enhance feeling, and you know, none of it was a happy tune. It wasn't like
No.
some Disney thing, you know. This is like some doom and gloom type stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wow, they're telling you this horrible stuff. They're sitting there trying to trigger this deep, you know, primal emotion out of you. And then, hey, let's cut to commercial break. And here's the thing: if you suffer from these 20 things, you might have depression.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you might need some pills, bro.
That's
You need
right.
to go in and see your doctor. There's something wrong with you. No, there's nothing wrong with you. That's completely natural. You should feel bummed out because, you know, if you just watch what I watch, if you're happy about it, there's something wrong with you.
That's right.
You know, and like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like there's 20 questions that nobody could go through all 20 without answering yes to one, especially after watching that garbage. So it's kind of just mind blowing how society and things have evolved, you know, especially when you step back away from it for a while and then you jump back in and you see that drastic change, you know. Was it T.S. Eliot, you know, he had that poem, was it The Hollow Man? It says like, you know, the end of the world, you know, it doesn't happen with like a bang. It, you know, it starts with a whimper. It's not this drastic change all of a sudden. It's a very slow constricting thing, like a boa constrictor, and it gradually happens over time. Things are taken little by little, not all at once. So it's like,
That's profound,
you know, I've seen
man.
the end of that gradual stuff, and it's like kind of weird, you know, a little concerning to me,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Well, I appreciate
yeah.
this, and we're right at the top of the hour, and I do want to give you the final word here. So thank you so much, Duke. I really appreciate you joining
man.
us.
Anytime, man.
And how can our audience like support you? Just like a quick plug before we go.
Yeah, man. If you go on Instagram, it's Duke_Diamond_VA. You can check out all of our stuff there. There'll be little links and things you can click on, interviews, et cetera, et cetera. Keep up with us there. If you're really into wanting to do your organic stuff, check out Dragonfly Earth Medicine. They're like the top, man. So if you look at their stuff, their site, that's going to guide you through a lot of your organic practices. There's some good books out there, Teaming with Microbes, and there's a whole series of books that go along with it. You combine those two things, good genetics, you're good to go.
Thank you, Duke. All right, brother. Well, take care,
Thank you,
man. Have
You
a
too,
great,
brother. Thanks
happy
for having me on.
holidays. Absolutely.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
Keeping you entertained and informed for over 7 decades, this is KSCO Santa Cruz.